Hello YouTubers, RogueMonkeyJr here, and in today's video I wanted to talk about the player counts in Operations. Now when the game first launched, you could either choose 40 player Operations or 64 player Operations. After about, I think, 9 months into the release of Battlefield 1, they totally removed 40 player Operations because it was splitting up the community too much and people were having a hard time finding live Operation games. They were just mostly empty and it was very difficult to find and play Operations in general. But what I found was kind of unfortunate about this is because I personally think that some Operations would be better suited as a 40-player game mode, such as Devil's Anvil, Gallipoli, and even the Red Tide operation with the Tsaritsyn map in second spot. Volga River can be okay on 64 players, but if you reduce the amount of width of the map, it will be perfect for 40 players. And the reason why I think that some Operations should be 40 players and some 64 is that some just are a standstill. They're literally just mortars and grenades flying everywhere. For example, I was playing Devil's Anvil, as you can see in the video right now, and at the first point we beat the enemy team like hands down. There was just too many players in such a small space that there were just mortars flying everywhere, the siege gun, a lot of snipers. You literally couldn't really move forward as the attackers, and it was just this boring standstill. And even though I was playing defender and we were generally, melting the enemy team, I still found it boring. I'd rather have a very balanced match where it's like to the wire and either team could win at this point. This was honestly just a massacre and it wasn't even fun for me. You didn't get really engaging gunplay. It was just shooting down range, throwing grenades, and trying to kill people with my flares because I was playing as the scout class. And I think that like some Operations would be better suited for 40 players. Even for Gallipoli, Cape Hells, it's very hard to attack. Well, it can be done, but on an uphill battle, it's very hard to attack when there's so many players in such a dense part of the map. Same thing for Achi Baba. All these maps I think would play out better in 40 players, and that it would be something to look at maybe for future Battlefield titles, because this one obviously everything's already done, almost including the last DLC, so I doubt that they would change the number of players available for those Operations. But maybe like a future Battlefields, have some Operations run on 40 players and have some other operation run on 64 players, and just make playlists available for both of them. So let's say you only want to play 40 player Operations, then you're going to be on those maps. And then if you want to go in the wider Operations, then you would select the 64 player Operation playlist. I know it would be a little bit complicated because right now how it works is you play an Operation, it moves on to a next Operation, and so on and so forth. You couldn't really do that if you had some 40 player Operations and some other 64 player Operations, but I think it would balance out the whole Operation maps, like certain ones not being very well suited for 64 players and just becoming this boring standstill with grenades flying everywhere and nobody being able to advance or do anything because it's just literally people shooting, and there's this wall in the middle where nobody can really cross because you're going to get shot and killed instantly. So that's a little something I wanted to explore and discuss on, because I personally like 40-player Operations. It was a little bit less chaotic, but of course on certain maps. But I do agree that it split up the community too much, and they really had to do something to help with the situation of Operations in Battlefield 1, because having 40 players and 64 players just wasn't working, and they obviously noticed that it wasn't working. That's why they made it 64 players only. But I would like to see in the future of Battlefield, in next Battlefield title, if Operations is even in game mode, then really have some Operations tailored to 40 players and some other Operations tailored to 64 players, and that way you give the the Battlefield player, the choice between very, very large maps with lots of vehicles but more players, or some maps that are a little bit smaller, less vehicles or no vehicles at all, infantry based, and have them as 40 players. I think everything would play out much better, would have a nice flow, nice pacing to the match, as opposed to one team completely wrecking the other one. So I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. I know this is a little bit out there as a topic, but I wrote a couple of topics like these down in my notebook, and I just wanted to, you know, throw this topic out there, see what people think, and explore the subject with all of you. So let me know in the comments down below what you think, and if you think that some other operations would be better suited for 40 players, I would love to know your thoughts down below. While you're down there, be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, don't forget to join the Discord server, link in the description down below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.